Welcome to the UpKeep Pledge Pros Podcast, a podcast dedicated to unmatched value and unwavering support for our customers and the community at large. Today, we have my longtime friend and a well-recognized industry professional, the CEO and founder of Empowering Brands, Charli Matthews. Charli, welcome.
Hey everybody. It's good to be here, Bryan. I'm excited.
Good. Yeah, I know we had a lot of time to connect at Reliable Plant. We've known each other for several years now. We've gone through similar trainings together. We had a similar coach for a long time. So you and I go way back, and we finally got to chop it up at Reliable Plant, and we started talking about how could we further collaborate, right, to ensure that our messages are put out there, and particularly your message, right? And what you do, and you being a woman, CEO, founder in maintenance, reliability, and industry, and all these things that you've been absolutely crushing at. And your story is paramount to other women, young girls, people who are interested in industry, but they don't feel represented in that industry. So before we go crazy,
I
Charli.
thought you already did. I mean, Bryan, I'm like, first of all, you're a great leader. I've enjoyed, like you said, all the different things that we've got to be in the same room with, in the locker room with. I think that's why, like getting to meet you in person, I felt like I had known you for years. So that's definitely a testament to, I have to give Rob a shout out with the Leadership Launchpad, creating that environment where we get to learn from each other. But you're a great leader. Thanks for setting me up. I felt like, wow, I've done a lot of great things. I will take that in and go from there. But yeah, I love being in this industry and as a woman, and just an entrepreneur. We didn't even have that word when I was in school, entrepreneur. It was a small business owner.
Right.
I am very proud of that. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I wanted to just kind of jump right in and give us a little backstory about Charli. You know, where did this journey begin? And then where has it gone and where is it going?
Yes. Okay. So I actually graduated from the University of Alabama in business and finance, which is so funny because this is not where I should live. But I enjoyed that experience. I was taught a lot. I loved the risk management classes that I took in economics and stuff like that. But I was an administrative assistant at that time for Pumps and Systems magazine, and they taught me everything I needed to know about the pump industry. I went to different trade shows. I went to, we had our own event where I sold, booth space, and then I really started, selling advertising into the print magazine. And we had a really great editor at the time. His name was Mike Riley, amazing, and he would walk around the different trade shows with us and made it easy. He was basically like, okay, what does your company do? What is the products and all? And literally I was like, yeah, you should do what Mike says. He just made it so great. But basically I fell in love with the people in the industry. And that is why I continued when I was starting out after they fired me.
Nice.
I created my company to stay in the industry. And I was so passionate about social media and, getting people to use the digital media tools that were out there, and they weren't quite ready for that. And so I used that. I used Google. How did you start a business? I reached out to my customers that I'd had, and really they bet on me. I didn't have a magazine. I didn't have a website. I didn't have, anything but Charli saying like, this is what I'm going to build. Do you want to be a part of this? And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful that I do get to work in the industry. I'm thankful for all the knowledge that I gained the 8 years that I was with the print magazine. But then it kind of shifted, right? It started being more about survival and having a paycheck to I have a team, I have an industry that I really want to support. And so I have definitely changed the website up a bit, but I just really dove into what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What does it mean to have a marketing message, a value proposition? I remember, oh, I went to college and we took marketing classes, but value proposition was like, I don't even understand this. And Susan Font actually, she was a professor out there, and she says, "What are you better, faster, and stronger than?" And I'm like, okay, well, I'm better at connecting with people. It's just you can't argue with me about that. Like I just am. It's a gift that I have. And then the informed part, it was that we could get out information as soon as it came to us. We could send it out because we're digital. And then the educate part is because we have so many different organizations, different industry experts that we connect with. And it's really their information that is used through our platforms. It's our manufacturers sending us content, it's our industry pros writing for us, it's our associations allowing us to come in and learn from them. And then, yeah, we bring our skills and knowledge to the table and share it. But yeah, I think that's how it started. I feel like it's just an ongoing and adapting career, which I really like because I am a creative. I do talk in circles. I try to get myself in a straight line for people, but I'm gonna talk in circles.
I do it
Uh,
too. It's fine.
yeah, and I would say that too, when you go back to the people, which is really where I am, right? I love the people in the industry. They're the ones that keep our world running. I mean, I know that, right? You talk a lot about swinging those wrenches, but I respect that so much. And I say that I'm, just have enough information to be dangerous on a pump, but y'all are the ones out there making sure that our equipment is running so that we can be comfortable, so that we can have the life that we all need as far as water, energy, etc. And I just get to shine the light on y'all. So that's what I do through the media brand, Empowering Pumps and Equipment. And then as I kept pushing, I kind of do that industry to move forward, or even in the early days where I was trying to get a room full of engineers or maintenance people to buy into being on social media for work.
Right.
It was difficult. I had to learn how to tell why we were doing that. I had to educate people on how to use social media. But then it changed, right? We're trying to make strategic shifts. We're trying to, come up with a way to solve the skills gap, or the not, just what are we going to do when all these people retire?
Just
Um,
yeah, just
we're,
wait. We just did the state of the maintenance, and there's a lot of that in the next month or so. We'll be putting that out, and man, it's wild. Sorry, continue.
no, it's great. It's great. And that's the questions that we're being asked, right? And that's where I'm like, well, women are the answer to that. How do we get more women in the industry? And that really did open up a lot of questions. People weren't ready for those questions. Organizations aren't structured to bring in more women or to even have those conversations about that. And so there was a lot of pushback as we were building this women in the pump industry. And so I kind of had to take a break from it and catch my breath. And then I came back and was like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's so important to me. I'm the right person to do this. And so we created Empowering Women in Industry. It was in a conference event, an awards gala, again, showcase and highlight the women that are in industry. But there's a lot of work that goes into creating, safe places for people to work, understanding our own boundaries and leadership skills and what we need. And then, then there's a celebration piece to it. And if I poured my heart into that, my very first conference. I showed up at that and I felt like, oh, this is where I want to live. Like, this is so me. And it continues to adapt and change as we go forward. And I think that's the strength of being an entrepreneur. You listen to your customers and what they need, and you kind of shift it. But we started with that, and we had Empowering Women's Conference. And then I proved to myself, right, that I know how to run an event, get people there, that it's valuable, the content. And then I was like, why am I not doing this for industry? Why, the pump industry and the equipment industry, my operators and maintenance and, manufacturing. And so that's when we created Empowering Pumps and Industry Conference. It's called Epic. I didn't come up
Epic.
with that, but it is Epic. And so
November,
um,
right?
it's November 12th and
Yeah,
13th,
I'm gonna try to
Colorado.
be there.
Yeah, I hope you will be there. Turn on the podcast again. We'd love that. Um, but as we go forward, we meet people like you, Bryan, different people that you're kind of on a journey with. And I think that that is where we are right now. We've got to figure out how to innovate. We've got to figure out how to make sure that when we know what the problem is, we can get our managers to help us solve it. So there's a lot there. I feel like I could talk for days on this. So,
Certainly, it is a thing that could be talked about. It's not just you. I mean, it's like a real thing, right? And when I think about what you're saying, particularly talking about empowering brands, like you and your company are essentially like this optics machine for industry, right? You intake all of the things that industry is, and then you convert it into consumable things for people to understand that are not an industry. And I'll give you an example. I do a lot of stuff with the marketing team here at UpKeep. Okay. They've introduced, you probably already know all this stuff, but because I'm a caveman, they have introduced me to so many things from how marketing works that I had no idea. Like all these, just like maintenance, all these acronyms, like these different ways of demand generation and brand and like, all these things. And I'm just like, what? You know?
you're my first avatar where I'm like, hey, do you hear what I'm saying? They're like, no, I've never heard of this in my life. Right.
It's
But
crazy.
but now, what do you think?
Well, it's wild. It's like a whole nother thing, right? When I think of business and I think of strategy, I think of like good product, like talking to people, doing all the right things. Like I never thought you should have a TikTok account. I never thought that you should be making YouTube videos, right? Although I consume that content in my personal life because I love watching people turn the wrenches and do all those things. Um, but another thing that talking to you and knowing you, it makes me think about, and it's funny that I'm about to bring this up because you were just in New Orleans at Rosie the Riveter, right? You
Hmm.
just saw it.
Yeah,
It makes me think about how at one point in time, women were industry in the
that's
United
right.
States.
And but think about that. It was a necessity, right? Men went to war. We had to run things. And so it was out of necessity. And then, when the men came back, then it did kind of shift. It had to shift, right? And so, but she inspires us. She reminds us that we can do this type of work. It's not that we can't do it. It's that, what role are we in? What do we want to do with our lives? And so if a woman wants to be in industry, she absolutely be an industry. She has
100%.
the skills, right? And so, like, that's the Rosie's Bar at the Higgins Hotel. That's where
Yes.
our event is going to be for empowering women. And that one is October the 10th, 9th and 10th in New Orleans. And that follows WEFTEC, right? A water wastewater conference. And so we just, we bring people together, but that inspiration of Rosie stands because we can look at that image and be like, she did the hard job, right? And we don't have to do hard jobs, men or women, the same way we did 100 years ago. We have tools, we have, robots, we have all kinds of things that allow us to work smarter, not harder.
Sure.
But if a woman wants to sling a wrench, then she absolutely can. And
Should.
it's not, it's not like we can't learn that skill or develop that strength. We can. So having said that and know that, I also want to shift from the inspiration of the past to the people today who are doing that work that are so inspiring, right? That did it when it was not accepted or that it was a struggle, which it is a struggle to be a woman going into a male populated space and being like, hey, I'm going to show y'all how it's done. Let's go. Yeah, right. Prove it to me, right? There's all these things that come along with that. And so what I teach people is that we have to believe in ourselves, right? We have to have the confidence in ourselves. We have to have the skills. And if we don't have those skills, we need to ask for help. We need to, get a mentor or a guide or the resources or just put in the work. And we're not saying that you don't have to do the work. It's we need a space where we can feel confident. We need the tools, that allow us to feel confident, that fit us. For example, our PPE, we talk about
I
that.
was I was going to bring that up later.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of um, ways we can come together to make sure that industry is prepared for women to be in it. I mean, the
Sure.
oil and gas industry, offshore, they didn't have bathrooms, or places for women. And that takes investment. But because there is a necessity, there is an investment. So if I look back at Rosie and I think about there was a necessity for women to go to work and we're going to make this happen. Somebody's going to watch the kids, somebody's going to be a nurse, somebody's going to, use the riveting gun. So now today it is a necessity that we bring in women, that we keep them employed, which means that we have to have a safe space, a enjoyable space, a space with purpose and growth, so a career plan, in order to keep women there, because we have to work, we have to have the ideas that women bring to the table. We think differently, we think a little bit more complex, and we love that masculine feature of focus, and focused energy, but we like connect things, and that's like science, right? Our brain just got all these different connections out there. And so having diverse minds at the table, bringing us all together, that's what we need so that we can sustain our workforce for the future. So with that, what do we need? And that goes back to PPE. Okay. It starts with, how do I show up as a girl? And I am a girl. I'm just a girl, I used to say. I can do all these things, but I like to do them in clothes that fit me, that make me feel like I'm myself, that I don't have to think about it. I like to get my hair done. We learned from COVID that everybody likes their hair done and getting groomed, or we're off. So there is things that we need to do just to show up. And then where's the tools? Where is the instruction? Where is let's just have a meeting where nobody is saying something rude to me or challenging me just because I'm the woman talking in the room. And then we can teach skills to women that can help them set boundaries. But we can also teach skills to men, which is just leadership skills, right? It's just, how can you be a better leader okay, we're at a table and there's a timid lady at the table, it seems, and she is not bringing her ideas to the table. Why not mention, we would like to hear about what you have to say, right? And encourage that, because sometimes we do need to be invited to the table. I think Megan, the princess, said that. And, we want to be there, but if we're not invited and we don't feel like we belong, and we don't feel like if we do contribute that it's going to be heard, then I'd rather go do something else. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more fun, and not that things aren't more challenging where you outside of our industry. It's just, this is our challenge, and I think we have the tools to solve that problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned the speaking up thing at a table. I have experience with that firsthand as a leader in maintenance, being in a boardroom talking about strategy. And we had quality in there, we had safety in there, we had all these people in there talking about maintenance and how do we get ahead, right? That's our common conversations in industries. How are we assessing what we do? How are we getting ahead? Blah, 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 blah. Right. So there was some quality young women in there that were in leadership. They were young women. They were probably fresh out of college, maybe a year out of college, right? So they had the skills, they had the smarts, right, to do the work, but they didn't have the industry experience to understand how these types of situations and environments function. So they were very, very concerned, it seemed to me, and of course I spoke up, but it seemed like they were very concerned in voicing an opinion or saying, hey, maybe I don't agree with that. Or when they are talking, there were some not so professional people who would talk over them. So I made it a goal of mine, and I would stop people and say, she was talking or they were talking, let them finish, right?
It's the best thing that you can do, especially being an ally in the room, right?
Well, I have a
Because it
daughter
comes across different. Yes. Well, and I love
and
that.
a
I love
wife.
that
And,
men, yeah,
you
we
know,
would, yeah.
when I see those situations, I see my daughter in that situation. And that is so important to me that my daughter knows that I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm going to say the things that I need to say. I'm going to deal with the things that I need to deal with. And that's okay. I don't need, although it is nice, I don't need anyone around to hold me up. I'm going to do it myself. And I want people, not just women, everyone, to know that they can do it. They can stand up. They can say what they need to say. They can be aggressive. I'm pretty aggressive sometimes. You can be aggressive professionally, right? But if you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You got to own and be accountable for both of those things.
And I think that there are people with different personalities. And so, like, I think that I was able to be successful because I do have thick skin. I do have brothers. I do have a can do spirit. But not everybody is
True.
like that, but they are all qualified to be in the room. And so,
And
speak like
capable.
incapable. That's right. And I think it's wonderful that men with daughters, I hear that a lot. You know, can see it and understand it a little bit better. But I hope that even people who don't also that we can get to the point where like you all came from a woman, okay? Like you have a mom somewhere along the line, right? That strength that is there that is feminine is not it's not a weakness even if it is a different approach. And so we all have feminine and masculine energy, and so sometimes a woman needs to bring that masculine, more direct, more assertive to the table, and sometimes they need to be more encouraging and let somebody else have the say. But I do love when women are in the room that it takes that like alpha male down just slightly. It changes that dynamic just slightly. Not that we don't need it, not that we don't want it. It's just slightly changes. And I've experienced that of like somebody cusses in front of me or something, and they're like, oh, and it's like, I'm just here. I may cuss every now and then too, like, oh, I'm good.
I'm
But
notorious for that, and I always apologize. I'm always like, I'm sorry. I cuss a lot. And if that's a problem, please let me know because I
Well,
something
well, that's wonderful that we say it, but it also just, I guess it's one of those things where it is different to have a woman in the room. So if we can understand that going into the work environment and look for ways to make everybody feel like they belong, even the rough guy that wants to cuss, can he be in a room full of women? Absolutely, right? And so there's it's all about that sense of inclusion and belonging, really. And do we have what we need in place at our companies to help everybody be successful? That's what it's about. And so I love that. I do love that I can do it myself. And I'll just challenge you a little bit on that. But we don't have to do it by ourselves. We
well
can.
that's what I said. I said it's always nice, right, to have others and encouragement, but not you're not always going to get it.
That's right.
So it's important to know, and that's why I was going to say it's important for women to be aware, right? And know when, okay, this is me. I got to do this stuff. It's just me, right? And then
And you
also,
will if there's passion in what you're
sure,
doing. And
sure.
it will just it if you have that confidence, which confidence I'm learning about confidence actually as I'm teaching it, but confidence is an action, right? Which we know. Like that's how you build it. I wasn't confident at all at the beginning. I was scared out of my mind stepping on the stage. I was heating up. I had a rash, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is happening to my body right now? But the more that I practiced, the more that I was training myself, right? I was
Sure.
gaining knowledge. Oh, I remember this is what I wanted to tell you back when you said about they came out of school and now they've got the knowledge and they're in the room. Now it's our job to train them the next step,
Sure.
right? Like they don't have that experience. And I think sometimes they're so smart and so savvy and so like they know where they want to go as far as their career. And like you're just like, wow. I mean, I know I am. I'm like, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my 20s. That now it's like we have to remind ourselves they might not know the basics, right? Like what
Sure.
are the basics? And
But
it's our job to teach them.
like you said, action is important. And for me, it was important for those women to see action from someone else on their behalf so that
100%.
they know it's out there and that it's a thing. It's not just like shit. I'm just gonna not say anything.
Yeah, it doesn't work if you don't say anything, both for women and for men. But to be an ally in that room and observe what needs to happen, it's going to help your team be better. And I can't say, hey, you need to respect me and you need to listen to me and it's not going to come off the same as if you said it for me. And then I don't have to, get in my power pose and get all that masculine energy to be able to say that. I can just be myself. I don't have to be on because I know I have that support around me. And it's
Yeah.
just going to make for a better environment.
Yeah. I mean, I know I had a woman that worked with me named Jen. She worked with me like almost all of the 6 years or so that I was with Host Terminals as a director of maintenance and reliability. She was my maintenance admin, so she was in charge of all maintenance functions across the entire company. So she handled all the processes, all that. Like she was an ace. And I swear, I want to bring her on the podcast one of these days. I guarded her like she was gold because she had so many skills that I did not have. She was a compliment to me. Yeah, I'm good at going around and talking maintenance and talking about fixing machines and chopping it up with the boys, but on the backside, she's keeping me 100% straight. And she would sit in meetings with me and be like, we would talk about things. She'd be like, you said this during a meeting, and that's not true. And I'd be like, oh, you're right. Or she'd be like, well, these things don't add up and we need to address these things. And I'm like a total monster.
Well, it
She
just
was
shows that we need
amazing.
both. We need
Yes.
both kinds of personalities. We need both kinds of skills. We're all valuable. We all bring something unique to the table. And I do think that more women in our industry, just by sheer looking around, is a solution, right? Numbers, population, like how can we get more women in there? Is going to be the solution for that skills gap and that challenge that we're going to
Yeah.
continue to see.
It can't just all be guys,
Yeah. There's not
right?
enough people. There's
There's
just
not enough
not enough
people.
people.
There's not enough people. Math doesn't add up. And it's funny. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, I spoke to a woman named Millie Merrill, and she's a heavy equipment mechanic, like absolute badass,
I looked her
like
up after.
amazing, right?
Yes.
Like complete badass. And she's out there turning the wrenches, just doing it, just hardcore, like not giving a shit, right? She has some unique things, similar to what you were talking about, where she has like outlets and things that help with her confidence, like she does Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Mhm.
So like she has these things that she does on purpose that are hard, and it helps her with the daily grind, right? You do hard things intentionally, daily life becomes easier. I know I said that on the last podcast with her, but I'm going to say it again because it is so true. My daughter and I, we go, now that she's on summer break, in the mornings early, we go on a walk, we go on a hike together. It's like 2.5 miles, and we just talk. We just talk. And we walk and talk. And she does at the end of it, she's like, wow, I'm really tired and sweaty and hot and covered in spider webs. I'm like, me too, hun. How do you feel? She's like, I feel great. You know?
That's great. I mean, and you know what? We've had the experience over. I went to Europe, and it was Ignite Inspiration is our theme this year for empowering women. And what you have to remember is what does keep you engaged, right? Which is basically what you're in your career, in life. And one of the things is if I'm not doing something courageous, then I'm going to lose a little bit of myself, right? That adventure, that I need to be scared just a little bit sometimes. I need to challenge myself to do something hard, like you were saying. And I think exercise, I'll just say stretching, there's so much there that you can prove to yourself how much stronger you are, right? But we can do that with our jobs too, right? Say yes to a new project or being on a committee or I'm going to speak on a Zoom meeting and
Or
whatever.
tell somebody no.
Ooh, preach. Yes. I'm not going to be and not make an excuse about it, right? Just I can't be
No.
there. Yeah, exactly.
That's
So I think
yeah. We're on
yeah.
the we're the same we're on the same team, Charlie. But
Yeah, well, it was so funny. I've known Bryan for 5 years or so, something like that. Maybe three. I think it's
five.
five.
It's about five.
Yeah. And then I hadn't met him, and I literally could have sat and talked leadership with him for days. It's just once you start studying people's behavior, which I think we kind of have that in common, and like,
Oh,
okay, who
I
brings
read the
this?
room, I'll read the
Yeah.
room.
You read the room, you can see like, how can I make my team better, right? Perform better. What do I need to do in order to help my team perform better? So I think there's the investment in time, energy, and then yeah, I mean it's that will, right? Are you willing to put in the hard work to become a better version of yourself? And it takes time, it takes resources, investment. But like you said, you can start with the small things. Yeah, I like
Yes,
it.
of course. And know that you may fail at some point, right? And you may get upset. You may think that, it's never going to work out, right? But the reality is you are the one who decides that, not
That's why
anybody
it
else.
makes me think of the work-life balance we talk about a lot. And
Mhm.
I always say that we absolutely can have that because we decide what that is.
Sure,
So
that's right.
balance because it's what we have chosen to do. And that's when you can feel good. That's where you don't have that stress. Really, I think about maintenance. And, this is a lot of maintenance people listen to your podcast, right? There's kind of different audiences I talk to, but for maintenance people, like that are constantly having to think about how equipment are running, how I'm going to solve this problem, how am I going to have enough time in the day for my family, and go and fix this for everybody. It really is just being able to say what you need and to your team. I mean, if you can get that safety, and know that your what you have to offer that group is valuable,
Sure.
and you need to have the space to say it. Um, the other stuff kind of goes away. The hard stuff, it's not as hard, basically, if you can have that confidence in yourself to go and present what you need and not worry about like, this is the 15th time I've had to tell you. But just it's still there. It still needs to be addressed and not let that be an attack on your performance. But the answer, you just can't get. This is something that you can't affect change with directly, but you can affect change in how you show up and that you speak up for your team.
Of course. Yeah, we set the tone, right? We're the tone setters. We're the standard holder. And maintenance people experience burnout, they experience work-life balance issues. I'm not going to say more than anybody else, but a lot. Okay, because things that keep the world moving need to be moving, and they don't get a lot of downtime, right? And when they are down, they need to be up, and so do the people. And that doesn't matter if it's Christmas at 3 o'clock in the morning when Santa Claus is supposed to be delivering presents to their children, right? It doesn't matter. And it's so important to, as a leader, like for me, I knew what I wanted from my team, and they knew what I wanted from them. But I also knew when I had gotten a lot from them
Yes.
and they hadn't gotten so much from me,
Mhm.
right? So if there was a breakdown in the middle of the night, you think I was calling technicians in to come? No, I would go in myself
Mhm.
and fix the machine, because I knew that the investment for me to do those things is an investment in them,
Yeah.
is in their mental health, is in their family life, is in them getting a full night's sleep before they have to be on shift at 5 o'clock in the morning. Granted, if they did come in at the night, I would say either don't come in or come in late, right? People wouldn't like that, but I don't care. They're on my team. Yell at me. But
Yeah, and
it's
I think that it's the choice, right, of how you show up. I mean, to your point, we got to go to work. We've got to do the things, but as the leader of the team, you have to know what you just put your people through.
Mhm.
What did it look like? Did you get a break? Did you get a vacation or whatever? Then yeah, you can pull the work. You can put in the extra hours because you've had the chance to rest and letting other people rest. But you're right about one thing when it's just spinning and it's happening over and over and over again where you're asking that same person to give. You need to at least give acknowledgement to that work. Of
Reward it.
course, pay is great,
Mhm.
um, but that appreciation, that ripple effect that happens when you just acknowledge somebody's work, acknowledge that they're there, that they are doing the important work. I mean, start there, and that
Yeah.
will make a difference.
Yeah, I had a struggle. You know this. I had a big struggle with work-life balance when I was growing as a leader in an organization. I wanted to be the best. I was building a multi-site, multi-state team. I was in charge of everything. I was the guy. I was the man doing all the right things, right? Meanwhile, I have children at home and a wife at home that I'm not the man. I'm gone. So it took me a long time to recognize those priorities. When I left that one company, which it wasn't a bad company, it was a great company. but it demanded a lot. When I left that company, I went to the new company. I put my foot down. I was still the maintenance leader, ahead of everything, but I said, no, I'm not putting Slack on my phone. Slack is our communication. I said, I'm not putting it on my phone. Well, how are we going to get in touch with you? You have to call me or text me. And if I'm not near my phone, well, it looks like you're not getting a hold of me then. I'm not putting it on my phone. I'm not going to be glued to work when I'm at home.
Yeah. And I think that that's the priority that in the boundary that has to be set. And you have to know enough about yourself, what your core values are, what are the things that you want to accomplish out of that life, and it shifts at different ages, it shifts. I love, right now my kids are, teenage and they like drive themselves, right? You love that flexibility. I got a lot of different worries, but like there's more time just because of I'm not taxi driver all the time now. So there's more time to do different things. Not that I'm still filling up those 24 hours, but I'm choosing what to do with that time. And I do hope that we can get other people to be honest about what that is for them. The next generation, the one that's coming in, they will be honest with us. So we need to be honest with ourselves, and we need to be able to model that and do that work so that we can recognize it. I can see, y'all, I can see immediately when something is wrong with one of my team members because I have spent the time reading their face, showing up
Building
with
a
them.
relationship, building trust, talking to them, treating them like a human.
Yeah. And that's how you know that, okay, you're not telling me something because nobody wants to tell you bad news. Nobody wants to tell you, that they messed up. Nobody wants to tell you these things. And so you're just going to have to ask when you see things aren't right, or you have to ask the question as a leader, how are you? And let them tell you, right? If you're seeing it and just keeping on going and, show me the number, show me the uptime, whatever, then they're not going to see you as the leader that you want them to. And that's where the breakdown happens.
Yeah, and ask in a way that is not wanting something on the back end of it.
Mhm.
Right.
Genuinely concerned about them.
Yeah, right. Because I know if someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, uh, you didn't complete 5 of your work orders today. What's wrong?" The context of that conversation is, I'm not putting out for you, and that's the only reason you're talking to me.
That's right.
Right.
You could have noticed that. You could have noticed that. And you could start with what's going on with the person,
Sure.
not how I'm going to get this work done.
Yes,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
crazy. So I want to ask you, what advice would you give to young women, anybody who would want to consider or be a part of trades, industry, engineering, STEM, any of those types of things? What would you say to those people?
I would say you absolutely are valid in wanting to do those things. Pick one. Don't pick one. Pick all of them. Try all the different things that you can and see which one you like the most. And it may be multiple, and you can do multiple things. You don't have to be in one box. You can show up. You can be a woman and be an engineer. You can be a woman being a maintenance professional. You can show up as yourself, and it's funny how we try and try and try to fit into what we think people want us to be. And we actually, people like us better when we show up as ourselves. They can tell it. They can tell that it's genuine. They can tell that it's you, and that those gifts and the reason why they hired you to be there is what they needed on their team. So show up.
Got to show up. Just got to do it.
I like it.
It's like Nike, right? Just do it.
Just do it.
Who
Just do
cares?
it. I think about, honestly, me. I never was like, I want to, own my own company. I want to, work in the pumping. I want to create something for a sustainable future. Like I didn't have any of that stuff, right? But I did want to help people. I wanted to develop people. And I can see that in everything that I do now. I can see I love to take risks. I'm courageous, but that is part of my work now. So if you can align those things, if you can align your mission in life with your work that you're doing, your spiritual side, for me, it's like when all those things line up, you feel good about showing up.
Of
And
course.
that's what it's about. And that's when your team can get on board and get excited about it because you're excited about it. So y'all just know yourself, know what you like, try some things, and then show up for your people.
Agree. Charli, how can anyone listening get a hold of you or empowering brands, or how can someone hire you to come create that optics machine for their business, start generating all that revenue, all the things that we need, all the optics that we want to see on all the different types of platforms that I'm learning about? How
Well,
can
you
they?
can start with Google. You can Google Charli K. Matthews and I'll show up. But please send me a message to connect on LinkedIn. Absolutely love that platform. That's where it all started for me. Built that LinkedIn group there. And if you do want to work with us, all of the empowering brands, I have a great team. But just send me a message, like I said, on LinkedIn, and we can either help you with a marketing plan, we can help you with a leadership development course, we can help you with getting in touch with the right people. We can connect manufacturers with industry, and we can have a good time. So if any of those things that you're looking to do within work and industry, then Empowering Brands is here to help you do that. So that's it.
Awesome. Charli, I'm a huge fan of you. I've known you a long time. We've shared a lot of great experiences. And I know UpKeep is very, very glad to have you on the podcast. I'm glad to host you on this podcast. I know you will be back, and I know you'll be out there crushing it for all the ladies. I know I get to see every once in a while you'll post some things of your events and just the sheer professionalism and wildness, right?
And fun.
And
Yes.
fun.
That was the actual, like, when I built my company, my plan was it has to be professional and fun. So I think I've done it.
The PF. In maintenance, we only know PF as something else, which is a metric for maintenance. But Charli, you are wonderful. I'm so glad you were here. Thank you. And thank you on behalf of UpKeep. We will see you on the next one.